as I think the show wants you to think, based on whatever this logic is. But hey, who knows?
Yeah, like there's not one super powerful, obvious entity right now. Like even Goku
wants you to think
in his
based
state
on
before
whatever
he
this
goes into the time chamber. Like I wonder where he stands as compared to Cell and the android.
Well, he seems like clearly below them. He's you know
Really? Okay.
he's more or less saying like, oh well, there's no way I can fight Cell in my current state. Like it's just not going to happen. Or these androids, like we got to go train. So
When did they all
Piccolo
pass
is
him
kind
up?
of. Well, he was he was asleep, right? I mean, he was a Super Saiyan.
Well,
Vegeta went out and became a Super Saiyan as well.
Yeah.
And then Piccolo, I think the thing to remember is that like when Piccolo merged with Kami, I think he shot past both Vegeta and Goku.
Because there were those times where Goku would come back after being gone for 10 fucking episodes or whatever, and then he would just be like a god. Like when he first came down and fucked up the Ginyu Force and everything.
Yeah.
But even then, like he wasn't quite enough to face Frieza. So that's kind of where he peaked, was around the Frieza fight, and then he was doing the heart virus bullshit, while like Trunks came back and he was way more powerful than Goku. Piccolo merged and became super duper powerful. Now Vegeta is surpassing Goku because he's in the time chamber. So yeah, I guess Goku is kind of getting left in the dust right now, and that's why he's got to go in.
Yeah, pretty much. So let's see here. This fight between 17 and Piccolo, from this point on, I think gets really good because like Piccolo blows up the island they're on, and they're like, well, I guess we need another island. They fly to another island, land on that one, and then it's just some good old-fashioned martial motherfucking arts.
Yeah, there's a sequence where they're just punching each other in the gut back and forth for a while, and then they decide, okay, enough of that, let's start kicking each other in the face.
Yeah, it's just some methodical strikes. Like it's slow and devastating. You know, there's some proper axe handles in this fight.
A lot of spinning each other around and like slamming each other into the ground or throwing them into the sky, like the Bowser fight in 64.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and more slide whistles. Cell shows up, ready to suck. Cell is here to do business and walks right past Piccolo. Like Piccolo is freaked out. Cell shows up and Piccolo's like, "Fuck, shit, fuck, no, damn it." And just let Cell walk past him to get over to the android who doesn't know any of this stuff, like what's going on, doesn't know who Cell is, doesn't know what Cell's plan is, so it's just down to fight Cell, and Android 17 immediately like there's a creepy. It's creepy. Actually, I guess maybe that's the next episode. This kind of we're still kind of getting. You know what? Yeah, we're so sorry. Let me back up a little bit here. So we're still seeing more of the Piccolo and 17 fight. They both go underwater. There's like a big underwater scream bubble attack out of the android. And Bulma figures out how to build the shutdown remote. And we also learned that Vegeta is overstaying his time in the time chamber. Like it's just Goku and Gohan just sitting there, goes, "What the fuck, man? Shit."
Like the timer's up. He's still in there.
Yeah. And so now we're like waiting for Vegeta instead of waiting for Goku, which I thought was a nice switcheroo on
But we
some
are
of
also
the stuff.
still just waiting for Goku.
I guess so.
To get more powerful.
Goku's just sitting there, but at least he's waiting. He's impatient. You know, he has to go through it just like we do.
That's true.
And so this episode ends, and the android and Piccolo are just punching each other in the stomach. And this episode ends and reopens with Cell showing up. You know, everyone keeps writing off Android 16 at this point, and I was getting really excited to finally see Android 16 fuck some shit up, because you just kind of know, like, that dude's going to be tough when he finally gets involved.
He's got the size, and he's like really stoic and calm, and
and into birds, friend to the animals. You know that he's gonna do some shit. Okay, so Cell gets there and is kind of just looking to get these androids. Android 16 kind of notices like, hey, this is bad. You guys should go. He's advocating that like that Android 18 just gets the fuck out of there.
They should split up so like all the stuff he needs isn't right there in one convenient place.
Yeah, and Cell tries to take Android 17. Piccolo jumps in and stops the process, and for his trouble, more or less, gets a broken neck. And this is pretty good. The sequence here of Cell attacking Piccolo, basically breaking his fucking neck, and then picking up his broken neck body and just shooting this up-close blast into his, like, fuck you, man.
Yeah, just straight through his stomach. Like, and the neck break thing was so hard that it went black and white. So that's how you know it was
Exactly, yeah, very, very devastating blow. And then, I guess, like, at that point, he just flings Piccolo into the water.
Yep, just tosses him into like a lake.
Yeah.
Which, this is after, like, at the beginning of this episode, Cell does this weird power-up animation that's like when the T-1000's dying in the lava at the end of Terminator 2, when, like, all the souls of the people he's inhabited, like, you're seeing all the faces and everything.
Yeah.
Like, you're seeing all the people that Cell has sucked off.
Yeah, like the rich guy, and some other people. Yeah. I don't know if we see that whole football team or not.
That'd be great, just an apparition of the entire team.
Yeah, it's like, that would be really good. And so, yeah, that's kind of how this episode goes. I feel like not a ton of things happen in this episode. This might be some of the shortest notes I took, weirdly enough. But there is that good up-close blast on Piccolo, you know, so that's it for Piccolo. Gohan flips out and tries to leave to go help Piccolo. Goku fucking punches Gohan out. Just like, because Gohan keeps trying to leave and Goku's check this shit out, man. No.
Oh, right. It's like, no, this is important.
Yeah.
We need to be here.
Worst father.
Yeah, this one ends with, it seems like 17 and Cell are ready to fight, like, right out of the gate in the next episode.
Yeah, Mr. Popo delivers some wisdom for Gohan here to get him to realize, like, hey, just stay here and don't go off and just go get killed. It's a waste of everybody's time if you do that.
Bad time.
Bad time. That brings us to episode 75, where things do pick up a little bit because Android 16 enters the fray, and I guess he saves 17 here because this is where we see one of the most disgusting things I think I may have seen. Period.
The super sucker?
Yeah, when his weird needle tail opens up into like a gigantic, like, prolapse, just this horrible. So it's like he's trying to vacuum up Android 17 and swallow him whole, but with his tail, and so it opens up and it's just like he's clamped over the top half of the android and has lifted him up in the air and his feet are kicking, and you see the inside of it real quick, and it's just like, this is gross. This is. Ugh.
And confusing as well, because he's just used his little, like, scorpion tail, like, condom tip thing to, like, suck everyone else, you know, with the, like, it's like an injection.
Yeah.
And he sucks the life out of them. Now it's like, no, I need your whole being inside of me. And, yeah, he has to, like, open up the weird vacuum tail thing, which we didn't know he had. I don't know if it's because he's an android and he needs to, like, digest all of his chips or whatever to get his power.
Yeah.
But, yeah, he's the first one that has to go all the way inside of himself.
Yeah. It's erotic.
It's a lot. It's a lot.
Yeah. I did not much care. I did not like watching it.
Not great.
It made me uncomfortable. How about that?
Yes.
Android 16 jumps in because he wants to save his bird friends and save Android 17. He does save Android 17 here and then rips off Cell's tail. There's a really good look on Cell. Like, when his tail gets ripped off, Cell is just like, oh! There's like a really good reaction to that. But then very quickly says, like, oh, you realize I have Piccolo's DNA. And then just, boom, and just spits out. Again, as far as disgusting imagery goes, he just pops out this disgusting, slimy tail, dick-looking thing. It's just like, this is like, I feel like 2 clicks off of, like, Legend of the Overfiend territory here. I
don't know what that means.
You're better off.
Well, there is some stuff here where, like, you think 16 is going to be awesome because he comes in and just fucking decks Cell and says, like, oh, by the way, my calculations say that we're equals here. And Cell's like, oh, yeah? Okay, how about this? And goes to suck off 16 and stabs him in the neck with the needle. He doesn't go for the full super sucker.
Right.
And he's like, oh, I can't drain you. And then we find out because 16 is completely synthetic and doesn't have any
bioenergy.
Organic,
yeah,
that it just doesn't work on him at all. So that's when he grabs Cell by the tail and gives him like an Alabama slam with his tail.
Right.
That's when it comes off.
Yeah, and then rips that thing off. And then, like, all the while, like, it's we get these cutbacks to Goku, still waiting for Vegeta to come out, but also can sense this battle. And you're just, like, getting play-by-play from Goku, more or less. We're like, oh, this power level's doing this. This is doing this. Let's see here. So 16 gets hurt pretty bad here, gets laid out. 17 gets sucked up, gets sucked off, sucked all the way in through the tail. The big creepy tail, and Cell kind of transforms again here.
His shoes change color.
Yeah, his shoes change color, but also his face. He's got this like creepy turtle face man dog thing going on now. His voice is a little creepier. He licks his lips. He's just a fucking creep.
I kind of like it better. He doesn't have the weird beak thing. He's like less insect bird-like.
Yeah.
And more just like a weird frog man.
Yeah, like a weird alien frog dog. Or something.
Well, before I forget, right before he sucks off 17, we've got 16 playing possum. And right before, like, I think Cell is charging him or whatever, thinking that 16's dead and he's going to finish him off.
Yeah.
But then he fucking, like, pops up and does a goddamn Mega Man. Like, is that Hard Man that has the, like, fist that detaches?
Yeah. Busts off his fist missile.
Yeah.
And then after that, takes off both his fists and just shoots fire, like just beams out of his fucking fists holes, which is also very good.
Yeah, these giant cannon forearms that he's just shooting into the ground.
And he's got his arms like pinned between under his underarms. He's like, hang on, I got it. He's like trying to fucking carry in the groceries and get his keys at the same time. It's like, hang on, I'll just cradle this here and put this here.
I'll put my gloves in my mouth and I can get to my keys. And
it's a really good bit there. Tien has shown up at this point. Tien took off to get closer to the fight because he just didn't want to stand around and do nothing, and he's mostly been watching. But then he starts playing a very pivotal role here because, okay, so since Cell has leveled up here, he is now faster. It is hard to imagine Android 18 escaping because of how fast Cell is now.
Well, and even like 16, who was equal after this power-up, like 16 rocks him in the face, and Cell just completely no-sells.
Yeah, it's just like he's got nothing. Yeah.
Totally. Blast 16 gives him the full-on like Terminator. Half your head is gone. You've got a red eye thing.
Yeah. And so they're like, well, I guess this is it. And then Tien springs into action and just starts tri-beaming Cell over and over and over again.
It's weird. It's this like pulsing thing that I had not seen it do before.
Yeah.
Where it's just this constant
Yeah, he's dumping. He's doing the best he can. Android 18 was at this point kind of threatening to self-destruct. And the idea was that, well, Cell's going to Cell is so fast that he'd be able to stop Android 18 from self-destructing. So it seems like the play here is as soon as Cell is distracted, blow yourself up. If you're already planning on doing it anyway, they don't do that. Android 16 gets back up, is missing part of his head. They grabs 18, they get out of there. And basically Tien is just drilling Cell into a big, like, nicely square-shaped hole in the ground.
Yeah.
And that's how we end episode 75. 76 opens with just more of those shots. Just shooting these beams over and over again. Everyone who can sense the energy is just like, Tien is killing himself. You get a shot of Chaozu being like, no, I'm a clown boy. Not me.
Well, it just seems like it's annoying Cell. Like, he's just getting pushed down like 6 inches every time.
Like,
he doesn't seem like he's in pain. He's just annoyed.
Yeah, I think they acknowledge a couple of times, like, this is doing no damage, but he is at least pushing Cell into this hole long enough for
good effort.
Yeah, no, totally. Like the right thing at the right time. Effective.
Yeah. You're keeping him from sucking at him.
Exactly. Yes, you are stopping that from happening, which is key. Goku springs into action here and just pulls off some instant transmission. He teleports to dying Tien, who is, fallen now after shooting all these tri-beams. He's basically just gonna die because he's just drained so much. And Piccolo's still alive, turns out. He's climbing out of the water. Goku shows up. Cell is like, wait, Goku is here, alive? Wait, where did Goku come from? What is Goku? Like, I thought Goku was, I think he thought Goku was dead in this timeline because of the heart block virus or whatever.
Yeah, and Goku shows up out of literally nowhere, and he goes to help Tien, and he basically tells Cell, like, okay, you don't know who I am, but just give me one more day, and then I'm going to come back and kick your ass, okay?
Yeah.
And Cell's kind of laughing, like, okay, yeah, one day you're going to get strong enough.
Yeah, but he's also incredibly confused by all the teleporting. He teleports to Tien, then teleports him and Tien over to Piccolo, and then teleports all three of them away before Cell can stop them, basically.
Right.
Teleports them to where the Sensu beans live. And Cell is just like, fuck, what the fuck? Like, okay, that was Goku, weird. And meanwhile, we've got Krillin heading off to get the remote from Bulma to shut down the androids. And the time chamber finally opens, and Trunks emerges, and his hair is dumb.
I kind of liked it. He looks more like Mitsurugi.
Yeah, kind of a Mitsurugi look. I was gonna say more of a Drew McIntyre thing going on.
One and the same.
Yeah, okay, yeah, fair enough. I guess actually Drew McIntyre is like kind of just rocking his hair down these days, isn't he?
I think so. Yeah.
So maybe it's less of that. Maybe it's
He's
more.
not in the band anymore.
It's like
no more bandana.
Yeah, that's true. I was gonna say maybe it's more of a Dolph Ziggler thing, but Dolph's rocking that terrible like back top knot thing. So, and Trunks is
ramen haircut.
Yeah, Trunks is way cooler than Dolph Ziggler.
Yes,
I think we can agree.
And better at stand-up comedy too. It's a surprise, but yeah, he's much better.
No, Trunks has material just for days, and not all about what he does in his day job. He's got he branches out. It's good stuff.
Hangs out with Kennedy a lot.
Hey, who doesn't? Vegeta's shit is all ripped up. Bulma gets there because after delivering the remote to Krillin, Bulma's got some battle armor for Vegeta and the rest of the gang, so she flies it up to the lookout to give to them. So she sees Trunks not long after he comes out, and that's where she's like, well, you seem taller, and what happened to your hair? That's crazy. It's way longer now. And it's like, well, we were gone for a year, kind of, sort of.
Well, this is when Vegeta gets kind of weirdly defensive about his own hair.
This is really great. This is a really great detail about the Saiyans.
Yes.
So everyone's there. Goku's there. Like Tien and Piccolo are kind of back and whatever. And I think it's Bulma turns to Vegeta and goes, "How come your hair is normal?" He's like, "Pure Saiyan hair doesn't change. It doesn't ever do anything. My hair is my hair. Leave me alone. From the moment
you're born, it's perfect."
Yes, I've got perfect hair forever, like that show. And then Goku is just like, "Oh yeah, I guess I never realized. Oh, huh."
He never realized why he never had to get a haircut?
Yeah, exactly. It just never came up.
Yes.
It just
weird.
Yeah, huh. But Gohan and Trunks will need haircuts because they're halflings.
Right.
We get Cell is now on the hunt for Android 18, who is hiding somewhere.
Wait, we get another great Vegeta thing before we get back to Cell.
Oh, yeah.
Which is, we get Goku and Vegeta armor, which is weird. And then he starts talking about like, oh yeah, I can do my instant transmission thing. And Vegeta gets super mocky.
Yeah.
He's like, oh yes, instant transmission sounds super cool, Kakarot. He says fabulously fun.
Yes.
This sounds like a fabulously fun idea.
It's like, man, fuck you, Vegeta.
Fuck you, you stupid dick. I've been training for a year. I don't need your
it's
fucking...
a really useful skill.
Your fancy teleport. I can just go places, okay? I don't need to rent a scooter with my phone. I can call an Uber like everyone else.
It's just him getting defensive about his hair and then mocking Goku's powers the second after he emerges from being in there for a year.
So it's been a long year, I guess. I don't know. So everyone's got this battle armor now. Some people are like Piccolo's refusing to put it on. But Goku's like, fuck, man, whatever. Goku is being smart enough to be like, whatever gives me an advantage in a fight, I'm into. Like Gohan's putting that on. Like they're getting into their Vegeta-looking armor, which is always it's always weird.
Yeah, and believe it or not, Vegeta is overconfident about how he's going to kick Cell's ass.
It's weird. Yeah, who would have guessed?
Yeah.
Meanwhile, Cell is just blowing up all these islands that are in the area, assuming correctly that Android 18 is hiding on one of them. We get a shot of Cell starts yelling out to Android 18, and everyone on all these islands can hear it. It's just this booming, like they're covering their ears, going, "Wah!" And so it's another shot of just like raw humanity doing regular raw humanity things, but...
I know where this is going. Do you want to buy a shirt, Jeff?
Yes. There is a guy wearing a shirt that just says, The Super Saiyan on it.
It's like a white shirt with just yellow capital block letters that say the Super Saiyan.
The Super Saiyan. And...
with fingers in his ears.
Right. Like it's a fucking PC Engine game. Like it's a fucking budget PS2 release. The Super Saiyan. So that's great. Cell then blows up that whole island and kills the dude in the Super Saiyan shirt along with everyone else. Just red hot nuclear death.
Yes.
And I assume that at some point they'll get the Dragon Balls back and bring all these people back to life. I doubt they're gonna... I doubt they come out of this going like, well, most of humanity's dead. I feel like there's going to be some kind of bullshit little like, hey, bring back everybody who died at Cell's hands. And they'll be like, okay.
Well, I don't know. Like, I'm not quite sure that the show isn't willing to just be like, yeah, the bad guys, like, killed tens of thousands of people. Like, there has been a lot of death in the show. I could kind of see it just being like, nah, they're all dead.
Yeah.
Like, we have retconned a lot of I guess retconn's not the word, but we've gone back and like, well, okay, all those Namekians are really alive, and all those people that Nappa fucked up in that city are alive or whatever. Or actually, did they come back?
Maybe not.
No, because the Wish
was just
the Wish that brought back all the
Namek.
Namekians. Yeah, so I think all those people died. Like, Nappa fucked up that whole city.
I
think the show is willing to do that.
But that was less of a city. Well, I guess that was a city.
That was a city.
That was a
It
city.
like
You're
called
right.
East
You're
City
right.
or
I
North
was
City or
thinking of
something.
the tent city that the media had hooked up.
Oh, right.
I don't know. I feel like there's going to be some throwaway one line of dialogue when they have to wish people back at the end of all this that resets things in a way that says like, oh, maybe all those people didn't get killed. But yeah, maybe you're right. Maybe it doesn't matter either way. You know, it'll be.
Yeah, I think they'll do it. Like, keep them dead.
Yeah, we'll see. And that's where we're at. So I guess like from here, I assume Goku and Gohan are going to spend their day in the chamber, but maybe there's no time. Maybe they just have to make do and let Vegeta run things. The teaser for the next episode does seem to just say like, hey, Vegeta's going to get out there and fuck shit up.
Yeah. So what's the status of the, like, 17 and 18 are sucked up, right?
18 is not. 17 is.
Oh, 18's not right. 17 is, 16 is fucked up,
Yeah.
but not sucked up,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, and then 18 is on the run? Oh, yeah, because that's why he was yelling and everything.
Yeah. And so Krillin has the remote and is trying to find 18. He has to stand within 30 feet. Also, he has a massive crush on Android 18, so I'm sure that's going to, like, play out in a really weird way.
Cool under pressure, Krillin.
Oh, that definitely the definition of just fucking icy cold coolness. In a pinch. He's
kind of like the Paul Newman of DBZ, I think.
Absolutely, just as low stress as a person can be. Yes, like just vibes.
Cool hand Krillin.
Yeah, definitely. And so
From Wondery, this is Business Wars. I'm David Brown. Moguls, William Randolph Hearst, and one Joseph Pulitzer. We've got crimes of passion, intrepid reporters, price wars, even a real. I promise you're gonna love it. Ever heard of fake news? Right. Well, for our next story, we're going to go back to its origins, to the knock 'em down, drag 'em out fight between the country's first media moguls, William Randolph Hearst, and one Joseph Pulitzer. We've got crimes of passion, intrepid reporters, price wars, even a real war, a shooting war, all unfolding in turn-of-the-century New York. And since we're going further back in time than we've ever gone before, we're doing something really special for this story, folks. So the first couple of episodes will be a crossover with Wondery's other hit podcast, American History Tellers. You know American History Tellers, right? Well, that show's host, Lindsay and Sony. I'm here with Vance Wallace. This is a guy who knows video games from both sides of the controller, no joke. He's a gamer who for a while in the late 90s was one of the top-ranked players in the entire world for the first-person shooter PC game, Quake. That was back before esports was a thing, and he's also a game designer these days. He's worked on the first Lara Croft Tomb Raider games for the Nintendo Wii, and Vance is joining us from Los Angeles.
Is your home an ADT home? ADT is the first secure monoxide. Right now, reports. It even includes gas to take advantage of 80 licenses of.
Vance, welcome to Business Wars. Great to have you with us.
Oh, it's great to be on.
What did it mean to be a top-ranked player in the late 90s? I mean, what did it take?
It took a lot of practice, which was also fun. I mean, me and my roommate would play 16 hours a day. I mean, we had these high-powered computers we bought for college.
Wait a minute. 16 hours a day?
Yeah, we would. And I managed not to flunk out.
That's insane. How did you do that? I mean, were you just fueled up on what, energy drinks, or what did you do?
I don't know if there were energy drinks back then. This is dating myself, but we were 18. We thought this was the greatest thing in the world to do, and that's what we did. We ate and we slept and we did that, and occasionally went to class.
Did you ever have people saying, look, you're wasting your time? I mean, you're really burning up the best years of your life doing this stuff.
No, not at all. We were in a little bubble of a guy's dorm, and everybody on our floor thought we were the coolest because we were the best players, on the floor. So they were like, yeah, keep doing it.
That's crazy. I mean, we should, by the way, add that Quake, which is the game that I understand you mastered, was PC-based. Since all the serious gaming at the time was PC-based, right?
That's right, yeah. Until Halo and Xbox came along, that was multiplayer gaming, was all on the PC.
Wow, that's crazy. So how did you get into this in the first place? What was it that kind of sparked your interest and got you hooked?
Some of my earliest memories are playing with computer programming cards, punch cards. My dad was a computer scientist back when it was like a fledgling, thing back in the late 70s. And he would put me on his lap and I would, hammer away at the keyboard. And then we had, an Atari that had games on it. And that was just the most magical thing to me, even though I was 2 and 3 years old.
Wow. And so you had those memories early on. Mm-hmm. Were you able to make money or do anything that I suppose folks would consider to be practical when you were playing these games, or were you just playing it for 16 hours a day for the love of the sport?
We had few opportunities. Today there's esports, and there are people who get paid to play for a certain team, just like football, basketball. But back then we had few opportunities, and the very first one was this Lamborghini tournament where you could play Quake, and the top player won this Lamborghini. And my friend and I were very, very good, but we ran into a wall. We got to play the guy who actually won. And, if we were, godlike compared to the average person, he was godlike compared to us. We stood no chance. So
let me ask you about something, because this is something that, I've reported on business for many, many years, and I've never understood some of these business models. Mm-hmm. Like, for instance, playing for a Lamborghini. Mm-hmm. And this was before esports, as you were just mentioning. Mm-hmm. So where was the money coming from for the Lamborghini? And why would anyone put up a Lamborghini for someone else to play a game?
So looking back, as a kid back then, I didn't think about this at all. But looking back on it, the tournament was hosted on this hosting service called GameSpy, I believe. And so their objective was to get a lot of people on this gaming service where they would, where they could host games, and they would charge people money for, the hosting, whatever it cost to host the games.
That's interesting. That's really interesting. So going back to the day, how was your grade point average?
I still had a 3.5 that semester.
You're kidding me, really? Seriously?
Yeah. I kind of picked classes that I thought would be honestly pretty easy for me because I knew that I was going to spend the bulk of my time playing Quake.
I love it.
Yeah.
Same as it ever was, I guess.
Yeah.
Well, so when you played for fun, I got to ask, did you prefer the Nintendo 64 or the PlayStation?
I preferred the PlayStation. The graphics were just so much better. The themes, even if they weren't, really mature, were more geared towards adults. And at that point, when the PlayStation came out, I was like 19. And so that definitely, and honestly, they had sort of targeted people in my age group who had grown up playing Nintendo and playing these other games, but they wanted sort of a more engaging, higher fidelity experience. And that was exactly the case for me.
That is so interesting. So what did you like to play on the PlayStation?
Oh man, I remember the Christmas that I got the PlayStation 1 for the very first time. I had been waiting for this, and I got Final Fantasy VII. And Final Fantasy had been on the Nintendo before, and I played the versions on the Nintendo. And Final Fantasy VII just kind of blew me away with the visuals.
What was it about Final Fantasy VII?
Well, you would summon these things to fight on your side, and the summoning sequences would take sometimes 3 minutes. It would be a whole movie to do one move in the game, and every time I don't think you could even skip it at that point, but I wouldn't have anyway. It was just so glorious to see this these amazing visuals play out that you wouldn't even want to skip it to get back to the real game.
Wow. So in a way, it sounds like what you're suggesting is that it was so immersive you felt like you were part of the game.
Yeah, exactly. Like I felt like this is the game world I've been waiting for. Nintendo was definitely sort of leaning back kind of experience, and this was like leaning forward into the TV. Like, what is going to happen next? Do the games look so real?
How interesting. What other games other than Final Fantasy were you into?
I got Gran Turismo, which was a driving simulator for the PlayStation,
right?
Which was kind of the first of its kind, and that was amazing. We thought that me and my friends who were also in their teens and had driven real cars, we would spend hours driving these fake cars around the course, and we thought they looked so real, and that the light coming through the trees looked so real, and so that also was, again, just we'd never experienced had something of that high fidelity.
Do you remember Parappa the Rapper?
Oh yeah, that was on even the demo disc for that PlayStation that I got on Christmas, and this was it was like a quirky game that looked like a cartoon that you could play, and it was about this little raccoon-looking thing, and he would rap, and it was a rhythm game, and even though it was just the demo disc, so you could only play one song. Me and my little sister played that for hours that Christmas. We really wore it out until their parents, I think, came over and got tired of hearing the same song again and again and again and stopped it.
Yeah. What do you think it was? Was it the audio quality, or was it like the speed of control, or I mean, what was it that was making the PlayStation so special, do you think?
So, it was the graphics on the one hand for, Final Fantasy and the driving simulator, and then the audio quality for games like Parappa the Rapper, where, it was like, you're controlling a real audio track. And again, like that just hadn't happened before.
Yeah. Looking back now, I mean, you have the perspective as a game designer. What kind of things do you feel like each company did well? I mean, was there a specialty that Sony PlayStation had that maybe Nintendo didn't have, and vice versa?
Yeah, I mean, for Nintendo, now I have a much greater appreciation for what they were trying to do, which was they have these franchises like Mario and Link, and then there was, Metroid, and their task was to kind of reinvent them, but in the same spirit of what everybody had known before. Because when you have an entrenched audience like that, you can't, sort of abandon them and go do something new that you just think is cool with Mario, because that's not going to work. So that's a real difficult game design challenge, and I think that over the years they've mostly succeeded famously, and that is a testament to their ingenuity. On the other hand, Sony, I think, was taking a big risk in that they were basically proposing games as something completely different from Nintendo, as something that's like more of an adult activity that guys mostly would sit down and have these sort of single-player experiences that were high fidelity, that would take up kind of all their time of watching TV or watching movies, because the experiences were as engaging and looked as good as a TV or a movie.
I want to tell you something really stupid. There was someone really took me to task for mispronouncing Mario. Okay, Mario versus Mario. It's one of those things. Same deal with Lara Croft versus Lara Croft.
Yes.
I'm assuming it's Lara Croft. Is that right?
It's Lara.
Lara.
Yeah.
Okay, so you got to work on Lara Croft Tomb Raider Underworld game when it eventually moved from the Sony PlayStation to the Nintendo Wii in 2008, if I understand, right?
Yes, that's right, yeah.
And what were some of the things that you got to do on the game?
So one of the tasks when we first got this sort of magical black box that looked nothing like the one that was at home, that was the Wii developers kit, and everybody in the whole studio wanted to get their hands on this. And my boss, the creative director of the studio, he said, okay, we got to come up with some controls for this weird box and weird controller that wasn't like the PlayStation or the Xbox controller at all.
Okay, now let me stop you right there. What was it that made it different?
It had a wand, so it looks like a TV remote instead of something that you kind of grip with both hands. And then the other part of it was this thing we called the nunchuck that had the typical joystick on it, and you had to use both of these things at the same time. So it was radically different than the controller that you hold with both hands and you basically just use your thumbs. And we had no idea how we would sort of translate the controls for one thing into this other weird, wacky wand thing.
Yeah, I get what you're saying there. There are a lot of things you can do to become successful in your professional life. Creating tangible, actionable goals, being honest with yourself about your weaknesses, and being a lifelong learner. Just a few of them. But part of succeeding is looking and feeling your best. To get my day started right, well, I turned to Dollar Shave Club. They deliver everything I need to look, feel, and smell my best. I mean, you name it. Shampoo, conditioner, body wash, toothpaste, hair gel. I'm a big fan of their amber and lavender calming body cleanser. Never smelled anything like it. It's wonderful. Set yourself up, but for life, not to escape us.
With Intercontinental Hotels and Resorts, every journey is a chance to gain a greater understanding of the world. Immerse yourself in stories that will broaden your mind, excite your curiosity, and take your imagination to places you'd never expect. You can hear stories of the Intercontinental life right now on Apple Podcasts, Google Play, or wherever you find your favorite podcasts.
So you're working on the game design for this new game. What did you do? Did you have like focus groups? How did you approach this?
Yeah. I mean, that's something that we did for all the games, but especially we had to bring in people who, they would sign like an NDA, so they don't tell everybody about, what we're doing. And we'd bring them in, have them play for hours, and basically I'm there looking over their shoulder and taking notes on, how is this going? Is this too hard? Is it, fun for them? Are they able to understand the controls? And I don't know, not what people fantasize about when they hear like, oh man, you're a game designer. But, that's the real work.
Yeah. So what you're basically doing, and correct me if I'm wrong here, but you're sort of translating the PlayStation controls to these new Wii controls, right?
That's exactly right.
Yeah. And so you guys would watch them playing for like hours on end, I guess?
Yeah.
And then what would happen? I mean, you would see what? Software crashing or people having trouble manipulating the controls or what?
Yeah, all of that stuff. And then we'd go back at the notes and we'd say, okay, here's what we need to fix, here's what we need to adjust. I remember that we had one section of the game where we had her riding around on a motorcycle and they needed to find certain things to solve a puzzle. And I even kind of shake my head thinking about it right now. I watched the player ride that motorcycle for about 30 minutes and just back and forth, missing all the clues that we had tried to put in the game to kind of direct them as to where to go. And I'm shaking my head even right now. So that was a big failure on our part. But, better to fail then than when it's in, paying customers' hands.
Let me ask you something, because at this point, I mean, things are getting so immersive and things are feeling so, beyond three-dimensional, really. Now we're getting into Lara Croft almost as a person, right? I mean...
Yeah.
Right? I mean, did you discuss things like, I don't know, sexuality or that sort of thing?
I mean, we discussed everything about her, and this is another thing. This is, I guess, more in the fantasy realm of what people think when they're thinking about, what is it like to be a game designer. We discussed everything about her life, including, like, her sexuality. At one point, we said to ourselves, okay, let's be adult about this, but let's think, like, is she a lesbian? Is that the kind of partner she would seek out? Would she reject, men trying to flirt with her? And we took that really seriously, and ultimately we kind of decided, no, she's kind of more like Batman. She's not interested in that. That's just not her thing.
So she's more what, aloof, I guess?
Yeah, or kind of asexual. She's not into that.
Very interesting. Why do you think Lara Croft, forgive me? Why do you think Lara Croft as a character became such a phenomenon?
I think that it's, one, it was special and important for there to be a female video game protagonist, right? So if you think about, Mario, and even thinking about, what you guys have said on the show about Donkey Kong, this plumber guy is trying to rescue his girlfriend. And that was what basically all games were like, before she came along and was like, okay, she's the main star of the game. So that was really important. But then not only did she flip and climb over things and explore and shoot things, she also solved these puzzles. And so in the game, having a lot of different mechanics and features, she became different things to different people, right? A lot of people thought of her as a puzzle solver, right? Some people thought of her as an explorer. And then it became that they were projecting themselves and what they wanted onto her. And part of what was magical is that even males, even men, even little boys were projecting themselves onto this protagonist on screen. That didn't bother her, what gender she was. They were still projecting themselves onto her as, this is how I explore the world.
But think about that. I mean, if you think deeper, you're talking about intelligence, and you're talking about, this is a person who is beyond detective. It's like it's an extension of one's own, I don't know, sense of adventure and curiosity and
exactly
right. I mean, am I close to that?
Yeah, exactly. And one of the things that we struggled with making the game was, how do we fulfill all these different expectations on her? Because some people think of her as an explorer, and they don't want to shoot things. They don't want to shoot the exotic animals, which were frequently the things that were trying to kill you in the game. They just want to explore, or they just want to solve puzzles. And, you know, we had a really difficult time sort of balancing those three things of combat, exploration, and puzzle solving. Because some people weren't interested in puzzle solving at all. You know, puzzle solving was something that was kind of unique to the Tomb Raider games, and so some people came to the game expecting, you know, none of that. They just want to shoot stuff like they do in every other game. And for some other people, that was all they wanted to do. So it was really a juggling act.
So you were coming onto the gaming scene just as Microsoft was getting into the mix with the Xbox, right? I mean, which we heard about at the very end of the last episode. How did that move or change the landscape? Do you think it did?
Oh yeah, it definitely did. I mean, you know, coming into it, the I think people's general assessment was like, well, Microsoft grown, like, you know, the Xbox was gigantic. It made all this noise. It got hot, you know, and the other consoles were kind of sleek and smaller, and you know, Microsoft doesn't know what they're doing in the space. And then, you know, they had this, you know, they made a brilliant, you know, business decision in terms of getting Halo on their system. And Halo created this completely different new population of people who were playing video games. There were people who, you know, weren't interested in video games at all, and then all of a sudden there's this American company making a game that I can really understand because it's about shooting aliens and getting on the internet and shooting other people, like real people. And there were people who were only interested in doing that. They had never been interested in playing video games before, but they created this new population and this new audience, and that was amazing and surprising to most people who, you know, were looking at the launch of the Xbox.
Now, this is going to date me, but I remember when we used to talk about PCs, and we would talk about the killer app. Mm-hmm. And I'm listening to you talk, and it sounds like what you're suggesting is that there was a kind of killer app, in a sense, for Microsoft, right?
Oh yeah, it absolutely was. It absolutely was. And they did a great job in terms of technology of finally removing a lot of barriers to just being able to sort of sit down at this thing and connect to the internet and, you know, get to shoot other real people in the game. And that was the other advantage why Halo was the killer app.
Is that messed up? I mean,
What do you mean?
I mean, the idea that we're shooting people in real time, you know?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you think about all the headlines today, and I don't know. I don't mean to sound puritanical or anything, but what do you make of that?
I think it's about connecting, you know? I think that it's about connecting. I mean, people focus on sort of what the objective in the game is, and, you know, Halo, you know, yes, you could say it's about shooting other people, or in this case, it was shooting aliens mostly. But it allowed people to connect to each other, and that's really what resonated with people. And there were people who even, you know, maybe they couldn't connect with a lot of people in real life because of their circumstance or their geography, and this game, you know, gave them a door where they could interact with others, you know, and that connection is really what people are responding to.
So Vance, where do the console wars stand today? I mean, who would you say is winning, and where do you think the industry's going?
Sony is definitely winning. They've sold the most consoles. The PlayStation 4 is much more popular than the Xbox. So they've definitely won. I think people are going to look back at this generation of consoles, meaning the PS4 and the Xbox 360, and they're going to say Sony definitely won this round. And that's the way people usually think about this in the industry. Like each generation of console, which one was the best selling, which one sold the most games, etc. However, the Nintendo Switch, which is just a little bit over a year.
Hey, beautiful nerds. Thanks to all of you who turned out for our Radiotopia live shows last week. I shook dozens of hands and gave away a bunch of challenge coins. It was the best. We'd like to give special thanks to Stitcher for their sponsorship of the tour. If you don't already know, Stitcher is a free podcast app for iPhone and Android, where you can listen to this show, as well as the new season of Love and Radio and all the other Radiotopia shows. Check them all out on Stitcher. This is 99% Invisible. I'm Roman Mars. In the early 1940s, as the war effort ramped up, the Navy put out a proposal for chairs. They needed a chair that was fireproof, waterproof, lightweight, and strong enough to survive a torpedo blast. An engineer named Wilton C. Dinges designed a chair he knew would be perfect. A chair made out of aluminum.
Wilton Dinges developed a method, a process to take this aluminum and bend it and weld it and grind it and heat treat it. All of these elements, they're all invisible, but part of making something that's super strong.
That's Greg Buckbinder. He knows this chair inside and out.
It's the most indestructible chair on the planet.
Wilton Dinges proved this by taking his super strong, indestructible aluminum chair up to the 8th floor of the Excelsior Hotel in Chicago, where the Navy was holding chair auditions, and he threw it out the window.
And hit the sidewalk and bounced several times.
I am retroactively terrified by this whole story.
Someone ran the chair back up and it was completely perfect, undamaged.
The Navy was impressed, and they gave Wilton Dinges a huge contract.
In order to fill this contract, he opened a huge factory. And he called his business the Electrical Machine and Equipment Company, or EMECO.
That's my fellow Radiotopian Benjamin Walker, host of the Theory of Everything podcast. Benjamin reported this story.
Over the next few decades, EMECO shipped hundreds of thousands of these 1006 Navy chairs to the U.S. government from its factory in Hanover, Pennsylvania.
It became standard issue for all warships, battleships, aircraft carriers, submarines.
It's aluminum, silver, modern and minimal, not too many flourishes. It doesn't even have arms, just 3 slats coming down to the side.
It's squared off a bit on the sides. It's a utilitarian-looking design, except it has one slightly